maybe something that you're really, really passionate and familiar about. Talk about Bisbee. Talk about the town,
Yeah.
the website, and the 101, and what inspired you to do that.
So my name is Sterling Noren, motorcycle travel filmmaker, and I live down here in Bisbee, Arizona at the Jonquil Motel. And that's a property that Eva and I purchased back in 2018. It's a vintage motel from 1937, and it's in the town of Bisbee, Arizona, which is America's southernmost mile-high city, elevation 5,300 feet. So we're about 15 degrees cooler than Phoenix and Tucson on average. And that means that it's a very pleasant year-round climate down here. It doesn't get quite as hot as the rest of the desert because we're up in the mountains, up in elevation, and we can really enjoy an all-season outdoor lifestyle down here in the high desert. We take advantage of that by going out into the mountains and the desert on our motorcycles or in our van and just doing a lot of backcountry travel and filmmaking and basically just trying to spend a lot of time out in the wilderness down here. When we're not out traveling that way, we really take advantage of this town because I think that Bisbee, in my opinion, is the best small town in America. And that's why I moved here. I spent my life growing up, the best part of my career in Seattle, Washington, a major metropolitan area. And when I turned 50 and moved down to Arizona, I knew there was only one place down here that I wanted to live, and that was Bisbee. And so that's why we made our home here. And the reason that it's special is that it's a very small historic mining town. Mining was very prevalent here around the turn of the century. And in fact, around that time period, Bisbee was the wealthiest town between St. Louis and San Francisco. And in its heyday, there were 30,000 people that lived here. The mine was running full steam, producing 25% of the world's copper. And in the 1950s, open pit mining started here. And the open pit mine on the edge of town, the Lavender Pit, closed in 1975. Real estate prices here plummeted. The mining community left town, and all these miners' shacks, these homes on the hillside, were abandoned or for sale for real cheap amounts of money. And so the creatives moved in, the hippies, the artists, they came here in the 70s and they transformed this town into what it is today, which is kind of a cultural mecca down here in the high desert. So music, art galleries, creative people, good food, all of the things that you would expect to find in a much larger city, surprisingly, you can find in this really isolated desert community. So that's kind of one of the reasons that I lived here is I wanted to take advantage of the rural, slow-paced lifestyle of a desert community, but I didn't really want to give up the things that I was used to having in a much larger city. And I feel like I found the best of both worlds here. And on top of that, we have this beautiful small business to run, and we get travelers that just come through here and share their stories of adventure and travel and trips with us, if we can provide hospitality to them. So it's just turned out to be a really good lifestyle down here in the high desert.
It's a great segue into travelers, all the things, rally, what inspired you to do or why you do it, and what makes it special, that sort of thing. I think that'd be great.
Yeah. So 6 years ago, we decided to create the Desert Adventure Rally, and that was birthed out of our love for adventure motorcycling and the adventure motorcycle community, something that Eva and I have both been involved in for years, decades. And having a lodging property down here in Bisbee with our big, beautiful backyard meant that we finally had the space to be able to create an event like this. And so we created our rally 6 years ago, and we invite motorcyclists from anywhere to come down here and spend 4 days of riding out in the desert and the mountains with us and just have a really good time. So the focus of this rally is really, number one, it's kind of like just community. The people that come down here always seem to be the best people from the adventure motorcycling community. They're all kind, supportive, interesting, intelligent, successful people. And whether they come by themselves or in groups, everybody meets each other. They become friends. They hang out at the campfire during dinners, and then, of course, out riding on the trails. So the community of people that come here is one factor that makes this rally unique. And we cap it at about 125 people. So it's somewhat limited. You have to get your tickets early. They will sell out. But that means that when you get here, it has a real intimate feel to it. It's not just, a huge event with hundreds and hundreds of people that you'll never meet. You'll get to meet everyone while you're here. The other focus is, of course, the rides. I've put together over 2,500 miles of GPS tracks. These are my favorite roads down here in this part of southeastern Arizona, and they range from some of the best desert pavement to the wild, rugged Jeep roads, dirt roads, backcountry roads, and most of the routes you'll be able to get a little bit of both on these rides. You'll get some excellent pavement riding, and you'll be able to ride some twisty dirt mountain roads as well. And then the last thing that I think really makes the rally special is the food. We're known to have really good catering here. Our friends come down from Wyoming, professional chef. She cooks meals for us. We have breakfast together, and then we go out riding and have dinner with each other and drinks in the evening. We have a full bar. Sometimes we'll have entertainment, bands, music, that kind of thing. And then, of course, you can go out and explore Bisbee while you're here in town as well. So all in all, the Desert Adventure Rally is a great way to spend 4 days down here in southern Arizona. Get a jump on your riding season when the rest of the country is still socked in with snow. You can come down here and get started riding for your year.
That's perfect. I'd like to ask you one more thing. The wind doesn't blow everything
Yeah.
over. Last night we watched the Montana VDR.
Yeah.
And I say everybody, but almost everybody in this community is familiar with BDR, familiar with your films. But if you could maybe talk a little bit about what they don't see. So the equivalent of behind the scenes, but from your perspective, how you are the curator, the creator of these films. What is it that like people would be anxious to know or would love to know about the process or the film itself that they might not know?
So I've been the BDR film director since the BDR's inception. In 2010, I was one of the founders of Backcountry Discovery Routes. And every year since then, we've made a feature-length adventure motorcycle travel film based on a different route that we've created across a different state. So 15 movies, and the newest one, the latest one, was the Montana BDR. What you see in these films are the essence of adventure motorcycling, the riding, the camaraderie, the difficulties and challenges that the riders face, making it across the rough terrain, dealing with weather, with accidents, with mechanical issues, all of those things. What you don't see is the work that goes into making these films behind the scenes. And as you can imagine, it's quite an accomplishment just to ride a BDR, to survive 10, 12 days on the road, on your motorcycle, in the backcountry, camping and cooking. But when you add to that the extra challenges of trying to make a movie about it, that's what makes these films, in my opinion, exceptional, is that we go the extra mile to not only survive the ride, but to really try to document it as well as we can with good cinematography, good storytelling, good editing. That takes a lot of work in the field. When we first started doing these movies, it was a one-man band. I was the cameraman, the director. I did it all myself. And we didn't even have drones or helmet cameras in the beginning. It was a tripod with a camcorder. Nowadays, the technology has gotten a lot better. We have drones, we have helmet cameras, mirrorless cameras, and I actually have a crew. I have an assistant director and cameraman, a drone pilot, a photographer, and then, of course, I'm out there shooting as well and directing the film. So it's become a much more sophisticated movie over the years. You can see the evolution of our filmmaking if you go back and watch the first BDR movies until today. Hopefully you'll see a progression in our techniques and our storytelling and the visual element, the documentation. But in any case, it's always a lot of hard work in the field to capture all those scenes, and then to come home, turn it into the story. That's another story in itself. It takes about 4 to 5 months to edit one of these movies together. I do that right here in Bisbee at home in my studio. And I'll probably start out with about 60 hours of footage for one of these movies that will get turned into about a 70-minute finished product. So a lot of footage to go through, a lot of reviews, a lot of revisions, but hopefully the final effort is worth it.
So I do have a question from a sort of that editing
Uh-huh.
perspective. Uh, Went out this morning with the ladies ride, and I knew in my mind I want to get at least 3 flybys of with pictures, 3 of video at 60 frames so I can slow it down. I need 3 moments where people are taking their helmets off.
Uh-huh.
You know, kinda a list, a checklist in my mind when we leave and then sort of
Yeah.
how it unfolds. Is it structured like that when you leave every day, I need to get these things, or is it just unfold and
You know, I've been doing this kind of filmmaking and telling these stories for so long that it's really kind of become a process of instinct at this point for me to get, what I call the coverage, the amount of shots, the material that I need to get to tell the story. And so I don't necessarily break it down into a shot list like I need to get this many shots of people putting their gloves on or taking their helmets off. But I just know from doing this that the more I shoot, the more options I'll have when it comes to editing. And I just try to make sure that I'm not leaving any big holes throughout the day where I'm not filming. And so in the morning, I'll try to, get a, a bunch of different shots that kind of represent the group getting ready to go. And that could be putting on your riding gear, could be starting up the bikes, it could be unloading gear from your motel and transferring it to the bike. But, so I'll just kind of use my instinct, try to gather a bunch of different shots, and then, have enough to make a simple montage out of that in the future when it comes to the edit. And it's kind of the same thing throughout the day. We budget enough time throughout the day to be able to get footage, riding footage as the group is traveling from point A to point B, and then we just, it's just a question of volume. Do we have enough footage to be able to tell that story? But we're not super particular that it has to be from this shot or this angle or anything like that. It's just kind of getting the coverage, getting the amount of material. And if you do that and your footage is good and you don't have any technical problems, then you should be covered. Now, I will say that another thing that we absolutely have to do in the field is to tell the story along the way. It's not just the visuals. So we're also very aware of talking to the camera, presenting information. What's going on now? Where are we at? What was that section of the road like? What's up ahead? What issues are we facing? And so it's that combination of the A roll, the talking, combined with the B roll, the documentation that gives us the material we need to tell the story.
well, Sterling, thank you. Last question.
Yeah.
I watched as you introduced the film, and I thought, how many times would you say you've watched that edit?
Huh. So on a movie like the Montana BDR, which is a 70-minute documentary, I'll come home and I'll start my editing process, which is organizing the footage, making a rough cut, making another rough cut, and another rough cut. And I'll do that probably for 2 to 3 months before I get what I would consider a first cut that I could share with the rest of the team so that they could give me their feedback. And I'll share it with them. I'll get their feedback and I'll go through it, make those changes. And that might happen 7 or 8 times during the course of editing. So by the time the movie is finished, I've probably seen it 30 times or so.
Thank you. I will just leave it up to you. Anything you want to add about this place, this space, anything special to you, people should know?
So the Jonquil Motel is open 365 days a year. Even if you don't make it down here for our motorcycle rally in April, you can come down here any time of the year, experience this beautiful southwestern terrain, the beautiful roads that we have to ride on, the amazing little town of Bisbee. We're open year round. Come down here whenever you like to. All of the routes are on my website so that you can get a Google map, see a picture, descriptions, find that information. These roads are available to you throughout the year. So if you don't make it down here just for our rally, you can come down here anytime and have the same experience.
Fantastic. feel like you've done this 100 times.
Getting better. That was my job. Like whoever else was the expert or the subject or who we were filming.
Yeah.
And it took me over a decade before I had to start stepping in front of the camera, because I realized, well, these people that I'm asking questions about motorcycling, I know as much or more than they do at that point in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that sort of what was the inception then for like the YouTube channel and like passing? Because we
Well,
we were here at the restaurant eating
yeah.
last night, and your channel was playing on repeat. It was really cool.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, what was the inception of that?
So that was I started at 2009.
Yeah.
But that's back when we were making BDR movies at Globe Riders that we would sell on DVD. And so the only reason for my channel was to put a trailer for the movie that you could buy on DVD.
Huh.
And so from 2009 to 2019, for 10 years, that was my YouTube channel, just a place to advertise the movies that were for sale.
Right.
But it was right around that time period, 2018 or so, that I decided, hey, I should actually start making content for my channel, because, it's YouTube and it was growing, and that's more people are watching on YouTube and less are buying DVDs.
Yeah.
So that was the transition for me, was like, I'm going to start making original YouTube content. And because I'm the one doing that, it's not for Tour Attack, it's not for BDR. It also had with it sort of a creative opportunity. Like, this is where I get to practice my skills in the way that I want to tell my own stories. There's no client, there's no revisions. It's all up to me, for better or worse. It's up to me to prove myself and my abilities on my own platform and my own channel. And so
That's really great. It's super popular. It's taken off. You've got a ton of followers and comments. And I was thinking on the ride back here, your rally, the success of it, very niche, but all of them are. And you have all these organizations that are teaching training and renting motorcycles. And, I've been riding motorcycles for 30 years, but only adventure motorcycles since 2015.
Yeah.
I'd be interested in your thoughts, because you see it as BDR, like adventure motorcycle. What is the next 3 to 5 years, the future? Like,
yes. Well, I've seen the growth of adventure motorcycling from, I started riding adventure bikes in 1998, and they weren't even called adventure bikes or adventure motorcycling. It was just, there were a few bikes like the BMW GS that were good platforms to travel around the world, and there were people doing that, but there was no adventure motorcycling community. You were just kind of like this oddball on the fringe that rode motorcycles long distances.
right.
And it wasn't until the early 2000s, particularly with the release of The Long Way Down, Long Way Around with Charlie Borman and Ewan McGregor, that adventure motorcycling sort of came into popular consciousness, and more people became aware of what it had to offer, that it was its own genre of motorcycling. And then the bikes and the technology just expanded rapidly. All the manufacturers started coming out with an adventure motorcycle. The sport took off. It became a defined niche on its own. And the way I see it now is that I feel like in the United States, what's considered adventure motorcycling is a little different than the rest of the world, or how I even began. When I started documenting travels around the world on a motorcycle, to me, adventure motorcycling was, do I speak the language? Is there a war going on in this country? Is it safe to travel? How do I navigate where there's no maps for an area? And so those were all the adventure motorcycle challenges that you encounter when you travel in a different culture, in a different country. Whereas here, I think adventure motorcycling is really just about technical challenge. Everybody in the US wants to know, how hard is the road? What's it rated? Is it, intermediate, easy, expert? Because we don't have those other challenges. We're riding within our own country. We know the currency, we know the language, we know the politics, the culture. And so adventure motorcycling in America is kind of its own unique thing. But there's lots of other ways to have adventures on bikes when you go off and explore around the world. And finally, I would say, like, after doing this for so long and seeing the explosive growth of it, what's changed for me is my own style of riding and what I'm looking for when I go out on an adventure motorcycle ride. When I was just getting started, it was more about conquering terrain, conquering technical challenges, kind of proving to myself how good of a rider I could be in those situations. But now that I'm a little bit older, I just want to go out and relax and have a good time and not be stressed out or traumatized by a ride. I want to find sort of peace and healing in my ride that's, a contrast to everyday life. So for me, at this point, it's more about how relaxed can I have my ride? How far can I go out into nature, out into beautiful places and relax in the comfort of the natural world and kind of find that healing. And so I don't know, I suppose my videos or at least my YouTube channel are a little different in that sense that I'm trying to encourage people to slow down, to take more time, to experience the trip in a different way, that it's not about just rushing through and seeing as much as you can or seeing how hard you can ride, but that there's other ways to experience this kind of travel.
That's incredible. And one thing I did notice that I loved about the BDR, you're introducing the next generation. Like, what do you think the key is to getting younger folks involved? Because they see this.
Yeah.
Does it appeal to them?
Yeah. Well, I think it's really important to get younger people, the next generation involved in adventure motorcycling if we want this sport to continue. And if we want to preserve the backcountry and riding opportunities. And the number one way to do that is to get someone out there and have those experiences at a young age so that they can be instilled within their values and their perceptions so that they know what it's like and how fun it can be. So, I really encourage anyone that has the opportunity to get a younger person involved in motorcycling, teach them about the backcountry and traveling in the backcountry on a motorcycle. It's just a really important thing. It can really um, boost a young person's confidence to be able to go out in these places and understand that they can have a good time, they can survive, they can learn some really cool skills, and it can go a long ways towards creating citizens that see the value in preserving our public lands.
Amazing. That's really good, Sterling. You're really, really good, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
That is what do you call it? Sage wisdom.